Of Innisfil in disbelief and in mourning after 2 police officers are shot and killed in the line of duty.
Words cannot describe our grief.
It's a dark day and it's going to take us a long time to process this.
33-year-old Constable Devin Northrup and 54-year-old Constable Morgan Russell, both with the South Simcoe Police Service, both shot while responding to a disturbance call. The suspect also dead. A small town now left to grapple with the horrific tragedy. Plus,
we've heard a number of complaints. We know that there were issues with running time.
after weeks of rider frustration, the TTC says its 506 streetcar will be suspending several stops on construction-heavy roads. How service will be diverted and how long will this go on for? And
so that's a big thing for me, is making sure that we have enough affordable student housing.
One of the most hotly contested seats this upcoming Toronto election is University Rosedale, one of 7 wards without an incumbent. We go canvassing with 3 of the top candidates vying for a spot on council. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. There is shock and grief in a small town just south of Barrie tonight. 2 police officers are dead after being shot inside a home while responding to a call. The suspect, a man in his 20s, believed to be responsible for their deaths, is also dead. Katie Nicholson has more from the town of Innisfil.
Where's the cops and the ambulance? Emergency vehicles tore through a quiet country road just after 8 Tuesday night. Hours later, a neighborhood still in shock.
I heard about 7 to 12 gunshots go off right at around 10 after 9. I thought maybe it was fireworks. So I went outside and quickly ran over to the house, and it was pandemonium over there.
In that pandemonium, 3 men killed. A 22-year-old days away from his 23rd birthday, and 2 police officers.
Words cannot describe our grief.
Constable Devin Northrup, just 6 years on the job, worked with the service's mental health crisis outreach team. And Morgan Russell, a 33-year veteran and trained crisis negotiator. Their deaths, 2 gaping holes in a small police force in a small town.
We're just broken. Our hearts are broken for the families and for our police colleagues.
Ontario's police watchdog is now tasked with finding out what happened after the family of the 22-year-old called for help.
There was an exchange of gunfire between 2 officers and the man, and that man was pronounced deceased at the scene.
Sources close to the investigation told the Canadian Press and the Toronto Star that man was Christopher Doncaster. He was enlisted in the Canadian Armed Forces for 7 months back in 2020, and court records show he had a few run-ins with police in 2018 and 2019. Amber Henry says she and Doncaster were close.
I think he was just living his day-to-day life right now, helping his grandparents out and stuff right now.
What happened on this street will take weeks, possibly months, to be revealed in full, and perhaps even longer for those who live here to process.
Bad things happen everywhere. Bad things happen, down in the city. Bad things happen up in the suburbs. So it's a pretty sad day for us here in Simcoe County.
Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Innisfil.
A vigil was held tonight to honor the lives of the 2 police officers. Community members, including many first responders, gathered to mourn and comfort one another.
When we open up the doors like this, we heal through community. And so we need to come together as a community, and so a visual like this will help provide that and remind people that we're not alone in our grief.
The vigil took place at Innisfil Community Church. Pastor Steve Bradley said when he and church staff woke up to the news this morning, they knew they needed to do something to help the community grieve. Now, among those who spoke tonight, a mother of another police officer who shared a prayer in honor of the fallen cops. Constable Northrup and Constable Russell were both veteran members of the South Simcoe Police. Innisfil's mayor calling the officers respected and beloved members of the tight-knit community. Meg Roberts has more now on how they are being remembered.
A procession of police officers gathering outside the coroner's office in North York this morning as the body of Constable Morgan Russell arrives.
This is personal for me. I went to police college with Morgan 33 years ago.
54-year-old Russell was a 33-year veteran. This past May, he was awarded his 30-year Police Exemplary Service Medal. South Simcoe Police also identifying 33-year-old Constable Devin Northrup, a 6-year member of the service. He also served as a member of the Mental Health Crisis Outreach Team.
To say that our community is devastated would be an understatement. Innisfil and Bradford are small towns, and South Simcoe Police are beloved in our communities.
That love seen today in the form of signs hung at the scene and people stopping to drop off flowers. Police departments and organizations across the province expressing their heartfelt condolences today.
I just know that we're going to hear about families and children and kids and who's left behind. It's certainly a devastating situation for all.
Premier Doug Ford stopping in at the South Simcoe detachment in Innisfil today to pay his respects.
All the women and men that serve, it doesn't go unnoticed. We appreciate your service. We'll always be there to support you, always have your backs. And I just want to thank you for the job that you do day in and day out. Another senseless tragedy, absolutely senseless.
Russell and Northrup are third and fourth police officers to be killed in Ontario in the last month. On September 12th, a Toronto police officer was killed in what police say was an ambush. Just 2 days later, a York regional officer died at the scene of a head-on car crash. Both constables were laid to rest late last month.
It seems like we just walked away from a mass funeral, and so very difficult.
Here at the police detachment in Innisfil, you can see behind me dozens of flowers have been laid at the base of the flagpole. The flag has been lowered to half-mast. As you heard the mayor say in her clip there, this is a small, close-knit community. So you can imagine that these kind tributes will continue as residents here do their best to support the friends and family of these officers. Meg Roberts, CBC News, Innisfil.
To Markham now, where 2 people are dead and another injured after a dump truck and car collided this afternoon. The crash happened at the corner of Markham Road and Elson Street around 2 this afternoon. York police say 2 people were pronounced dead at the scene. Another person was taken to hospital. Police haven't released any details about the victims. After weeks of confusion and frustration among riders, the TTC is making some changes to its 506 streetcar route. It's suspending stops on College and Carleton Streets, where construction has been ongoing, and diverting the route beginning tomorrow. Now, Tyler Cheese has more on all the changes.
506 streetcar riders say the route has been a mess for weeks.
You've got to go south or you've got to go north to get anywhere you want to go. And when you're running late because the streetcar's closed, you take an Uber.
As of tomorrow, the streetcar won't be stopping between Ossington Avenue and Parliament Street until at least the end of this year. Instead, the route will be diverted along Dundas Street in a move that the TTC says will speed up trip times and improve customer experience.
We know that there were issues with running time because the routing that we had up until, well, today, involves a lot of turning up and down to get to and from College Street and Carleton.
He says the ongoing diversion is due to construction projects like track replacement and bike lane installations.
It's all part and parcel of that construction season that we see in Toronto every year. This one just happened to be, a little more complicated.
Replacement buses will also run between Ossington Station and Castle Frank Station. Sherry Casman feels she had a hand in making these changes happen.
I thought maybe I would help people out by creating my own sign.
She created her own joke notices showing a map with a meandering streetcar route to highlight what she calls the mayhem of the original diversion. She's posted the signs all along the 506 route.
I wanted to explain what was going on and also kind of poke fun at the ridiculousness of the TTC's signs.
She hopes the TTC will communicate more clearly with customers in the future. The transit agency says it understands the frustration of riders, but longer disruptions like this one will make things easier in the long run.
It's better that we do one big piece of work than, say 3 or 4 smaller pieces of work, which just extends the delays.
The agency assures any riders with accessibility needs will still have access to Wheel-Trans along the route. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
Let's go to Dahlia Ashtree now with a first look at the forecast. And Dahlia, not too heavy, but certainly a bit of rain today, and those winds quite strong as well.
That's right, Kelda. You probably did bring your umbrella today just in case for those scattered showers, but it was a windy one, and that will continue overnight and into tomorrow morning. But tomorrow morning won't be as strong, but we are seeing some damp conditions for tomorrow as well, so you'll need that umbrella for then. The daytime high in Toronto today, 20 degrees. We were sitting well above those seasonal temperatures. Usually the normal high this time of year is 14 degrees, and today it was quite warm in spite of the gusty winds and also the rain. A little cooler out in Barrie, 16 degrees. Now, there is a cold front that is moving across Michigan into Ontario, and that's what's giving us those cooler temperatures and those strong winds and the rain. So winds could be gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour. That is quite a hazard, so just be careful in terms of any fallen trees or down power lines. We could also be seeing some rain as well if we take a closer look here going into tomorrow and as well tomorrow morning and then as well on Friday.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. The Ontario Medical Association flagging startling statistics today that throughout the pandemic, 400,000 fewer mammograms have been performed than forecasted.
Over 70% are diagnosed because they have a symptom of breast cancer, typically because they present with a lump that either the women found themselves or that their physicians found in their breasts. This means that the cancers are more advanced at the diagnosis stage.
The OMA says screenings have returned to normal levels, but it's expressing concern there may be more undiagnosed cases in the province. The association says survival rates of women with breast cancer decline if the detection of the disease is delayed. It says wait times for treatment in Ontario, including surgeries, are currently longer than provincial guidelines, which is leading to poorer health outcomes. Well, it's shaping up to be one of the most hotly contested council seats in Toronto. Candidates in University Rosedale are upping their game as they vie to replace Mike Layton, who's retiring after more than a decade in office. The ward includes some of the city's wealthiest neighborhoods, as well as the Annex, Little Italy, and Kensington Market. Ryan Patrick Jones caught up with three of the highest profile candidates as they sought to connect with voters.
Hello. How are you?
Diane Sachs is on the lookout for votes in well-to-do Rosedale.
Hello. Do you vote in this ward?
A former environmental lawyer who served as Ontario's last Environment Commissioner, Sachs is promising action on climate change and building communities where it's safe and easy to walk, cycle, and take transit to nearby amenities.
When more people get around on foot and on personal transportation like bicycles and motorized wheelchairs and so on, the air is cleaner, you have more room for more people. It saves the city money, and the city is in financial trouble. It saves people money.
Across the ward in Harvard Village, Robin Buxton Potts speaks to a student about his housing struggle.
And then I just live on Ulster Street over there.
Did you have any trouble finding affordable rental housing as a student?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It was a nightmare.
According to the 2021 census, more than half of residents living in the ward are renters, and the average price is almost $2,000 per month. Buxton Potts was appointed interim councillor of neighboring Toronto Centre this summer. She's leaning on her experience working for 3 former councillors.
I have relationships with the residents associations, with the BIAs, know the priorities right away and can get started. These are huge wards. The learning curve for new councillors is huge. I've sat in that chair, I've done the work, and I can get started right away.
Housing is also a top issue for Norm DiPasquale. He's a Toronto Catholic District School Board trustee.
First priority, we have to address the affordable housing crisis. That's number one. We are losing residents. People are slipping through the cracks into encampments. You know, everybody has the human right to housing, and that is what I want to attack first and foremost.
DiPasquale also led a campaign to prevent jets at the island airport and has been endorsed by outgoing councillor Mike Layton and advocacy group Progress Toronto. That support appears to have won him this resident's vote.
Our good friends have endorsed you, so
thank you.
So you got to vote with me.
In addition to Sachs, DiPasquale, and Buxton Potts, 9 other candidates are running in the ward. Ryan Patrick Jones, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. The Toronto Maple Leafs back in action tonight for the official kickoff to their NHL season. Game 1 happening against the team's bitter rival, the Montreal Canadiens. And it was close all the way through.
The Montreal Canadiens, who didn't win in the preseason, have won the season opener.
Not exactly the start to the season the boys in blue and white were looking for, going down 4-3 against the Habs. Montreal scoring the game winner with just 17 seconds left in the third. William Nylander, Dennis Malgin, and Scarborough native Michael Bunting all getting on the board for Toronto. And Leafs fans have been waiting a long time for the team to see some success. Most have been doing that, waiting in the city. But for others, they've been rooting on the team from afar. Greg Ross spoke to a Leaf fan who traveled a long way to see them ahead of tomorrow's home opener.
A trip to the Leaf shop just hours before the start of a new season. This family of Leaf fans came all the way from Scotland, bringing with them high hopes for the new season.
You can only hope that they've learned from the last few years.
Ian Wales has been a diehard Leafs fan for 25 years and is planning to go to the home opener tomorrow night with his family.
Do you think this is the year? Well, hopefully, because we thought last year was the year. And I stayed up in Scotland to watch Game 7 at midnight on a Saturday night and went to bed very disappointed, as usual.
Wales' 11-year-old daughter Lucy has followed in his footsteps and has become a big Leafs fan. In her lifetime, they've never gotten past the first round of the playoffs.
Has it been a tough 11 years being a fan of this team?
Yes.
She's not the only one feeling the pain of cheering for the Leafs.
And the Lightning have held on.
They haven't made it past the first round of the playoffs in nearly 2 decades.
It's frustrating. I don't know, like being a fan since 93 or 94, it's just something I've come to get used to with this team.
But even with the playoff disappointment, most fans can't help but get their hopes up at this time of year.
You always got to cheer them on, you know what I mean? Like, you can't doubt them. Like, it's your team.
And those hopes are being felt all the way to Montreal, where the Leafs play tonight.
Expectations are not a new thing in Toronto, and this group in particular is used to dealing with that.
Ian Wales' wife calls herself a Leaf fan by association, but she says she has her own reasons for wanting the team to do something big this season.
Are you the person that has to do all the consoling from, like when these guys are upset because their team loses every year?
Or get woken up when he's upset because they've not won.
So you don't get a lot of sleep then?
No.
Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
One season begins and another ends. After a dismal 4-0 loss to the Philadelphia Union on Sunday, the Toronto FC's season is over. The game marked a 5th straight defeat, signaling more work is needed on the roster that was almost completely overhauled after last season. Members of the team spoke today about what could lie ahead for them.
It was definitely up and down season. I feel optimism about the future. There's really good players here, and it's still a very new team.
Yeah, we have to get better. We have to now take stock of where we are, of who's here, of now going forward. As always, who wants to be here?
Several Toronto FC players who secured a spot on Team Canada can now turn their attention to the World Cup, which kicks off next month in Qatar. The team is set to play their first game against Belgium on November 23rd. And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline, cloudy with some shower. 18 degrees in the city. The rain, temperatures actually quite warm today, and even tonight staying quite mild.
That's right, Kelda. It did feel really nice out earlier today. It fell up to 20 degrees. We were above seasonal temperatures, but it also was windy, and there was a special weather statement in effect, as well as a wind warning in effect for most of Ontario, including Halton, Peel, Durham, Peterborough, and we are going to see those strong winds continuing tonight, a little windy tomorrow, but really the story is all about tomorrow and the rain as well. But there is some sunshine on the way too, have no fear. Now, winds could be gusting up to 90 kilometers an hour, and it It could be ending overnight tonight. A windy one tomorrow, but nothing as extreme as this. Like I said, there is that special weather statement in effect. We're also seeing that it could be raining a little bit tonight and a risk of a thunderstorm, and that could be carrying into tomorrow morning as you commute to work. So let's take a look at this. Look at that heavy rain going into tomorrow morning overnight, and then tomorrow morning as you're commuting to work around 6:30 a.m. There is a risk of a thunderstorm, some strong winds, but nothing like it was earlier today and overnight. And then Thursday around the afternoon, we could be seeing some scattered showers. So make sure you have an umbrella with you just in case, or a raincoat, maybe even a windbreaker because of the windy conditions too. It could be clearing up around the evening on Thursday night. Heading into Friday, we will be seeing some scattered showers early in the morning at around 5 a.m. and that could be carrying through until 7 a.m. and then some high pressure system a little bit throughout the afternoon, but then again back to that low pressure system around 2 o'clock and those scattered showers. So you might need an umbrella on Friday as well. Now the winds, like we were talking about, winds could be gusting tomorrow up to 47 kilometers an hour. And then tonight temperatures will drop. We could be expecting temperatures to drop to 13 degrees. And as we head into the next few days, we will be seeing it getting even colder in the evening, back down to those single digits starting tomorrow.
Thanks so much, Dahlia. Grammy Award-winning artist Noah James Shabib, better known as 40, received an honorary law degree at York University today. The DJ and artist, who frequently collaborates with Drake, detailed his work ethic.
I think basically I was a young man who was looking at this world and realized the harder I worked, the more I would create. And the more I could create, the more opportunity I would have for success. Everyone always asks me, like, oh, how did you make this song? Or how did you think of that idea for this song? And the funniest part is that I literally just throw something at the wall, and then I throw it again, and I throw it again until it starts to take shape and look like something.
Shabib has family connections to York University, being the grandson of James Mavor Moore, a former theater professor at the school. And finally, tonight, an art auction that's been 60 years in the making gets underway in Toronto on December 1st. Toronto's Cowley Abbott Auction House is set to unveil 50 pieces.
Collection represents essentially all of the major artists, schools, and movements of Canadian art from the mid-19th century through to the mid-20th century. So it's quite an astounding collection. The collection is actually quite familiar to art connoisseurs and collectors, as most of the works have been lent to exhibitions extensively.
The collection includes works from Group of Seven member Lorraine Harris. There will also be an Emily Carr masterpiece up for grabs that organizers hope could break the record for the highest amount for a work by a Canadian female artist. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.